Welcome to Youth Voices of Greater Cincinnati. My name is Bowen Garibay, and these are my two hosts,
Mason Koch,
Zane Edom.
and today we have a very special guest, and her name is
Coach Vee.
Thank you for being here, Coach Vee.
Thank you for having me.
How did you choose the profession of mental health coaching?
Yep. So first, I want to make sure that we're clear on the type of coach I am, which is what you mentioned. I don't coach a sport. I am a holistic mental health and healing coach, like you mentioned. And so essentially that breaks down to me being a certified life coach, but I specialize in mental health and healing techniques that are non-medicinal. So I teach people how to take charge of their mental health without prescription medication. So that requires a lot of soul work, a lot of healing past traumas, a lot of transforming harmful thoughts into healthy thoughts. So that's where the coaching piece comes from.
who inspired you to become a mental health coach?
So that's an interesting question, Mason. No one particularly inspired me. My own life experience inspired me. At the age of 16, the street term, I guess you could say, is a cutter, but the technical term is self-mutilation. So that meant that when I was stressed or when I was upset or when I was sad about something, I would harm myself instead of harming others. So that was at 16. So my family dynamic didn't respond well to that, of course. It's like, what's the issue? You go to one of the best schools in Cincinnati, you're doing well, we provide for you, you're not starving, like, why are you doing this? And at the time, I couldn't articulate at 16 what I needed. So we went about and hid it, like it was a family secret that I did that. So when I moved out at the age of 18 and I was on my own, then that secret was no longer a secret because I was living on my own. I could do what I want. So I resumed the practice because I still didn't know how to cope with life or cope with a broken heart or deal with stress. And I was raised in a very strict household as well. So a lot of things that kids typically do in high school, I didn't get to do. There was no prom, there were no birthday celebrations, there were no parties. I didn't get to do any of that. So when I moved out, I wanted to see what I was missing. So I started getting piercings and tattoos and going to parties, and I always behaved older than I actually was. So I had a lot of older friends who would sneak me into clubs, and I was wilding out. I was wilding out. But I still didn't know how to cope with life and with stress and with problems. So that's where I still engaged in harming myself. So fast forward to 2005, my dad passed unexpectedly. And so that created a break in me emotionally. And what I mean by that is my dad and I didn't have a really good relationship, but not because of me, just because I look like my mom, which had nothing to do with me. But him and my mom despised each other so much that he couldn't even stand to look at me. So we didn't have a good relationship. Yeah. So, and I wanted that to change. So when he died unexpectedly, to me, that meant I'll never get to fix this bond because he's passed. So I had an emotional breakdown, resumed harming myself, and was finally, I'm going to say, diagnosed with a mental illness. And I say finally because remember when I said I was 16, it was a hidden secret. Yeah. So I never got to get any help. So in 2005, I was diagnosed with manic depression, and I was immediately assigned to a psychiatrist and given prescription medication. But I immediately knew that didn't work for me. Because just like I'm sitting here talking to y'all, that's how I was talking to the psychiatrist. They couldn't tell me nothing new. I didn't want to be on medication all my life. I didn't want to talk about my problems. I wanted to know how to heal and how to fix it. And at that time, that's not what they were in the business of doing. It was, here, get this prescription, go take this, you'll be fine. So again, I hid my symptoms again for 7 years because I refused to take the medication. And I felt that the sessions I was having with the psychiatrist were a waste of time because I'm out talking to them. Now, even though I don't have a degree in psychiatry, psychiatric medicine, whatever. Yeah, we after school, whatever. No, even though I didn't have a degree in that, I still was intelligent and articulate. So I'm having these conversations and I'm left feeling like I ran the whole appointment. You didn't help me. So I stopped going, stopped taking the medication. And then as it happened, 7 years later, I was looking for a new career and I entered into the funeral industry. Me entering into the funeral industry, I had to be trained, on what to do. And my trainer actually saw something in me, but really couldn't pinpoint it because we had a professional relationship. And after I learned my new job assignments, he started teaching me how to change my thought patterns. So he taught me about affirmations. He taught me about listening to mantras, about meditation. He taught me all these holistic ways to improve my thought patterns. So this is before he even knew what was wrong with me. He just knew something was there. She's a great person, but I could tell she's hiding something. And that was enough to make me curious enough to go learn and study different things on my own. I studied different modalities from the East. I studied, so when we're talking about that, we're talking about the meditation, we're talking about chakra healing, we're talking about stones and crystals. And I found out that I got more support as far as healing my thought patterns than I got with any other thing. The religion I was raised in, the psychiatrist, the medicine, none of that worked for me. But studying these types of lessons and modalities actually worked for me. It stirred up something inside of me. So I spent the past 8 years learning, perfecting, finding the things that work for me. And that all turned out to me developing a mental health routine to keep me not only cool, calm, and collected, but also to give me something to do to deal with day-to-day stress. Whether it's from life, whether it's from professional, whether it's a health issue, whether it's just world news altogether. I have a routine that allows me to woosah, practice my breathing, all the non-medicinal things you can think of that actually helps heal the person from the inside out. That's what I got into and studied and got certified in. So as a coach, I teach other people how to use non-medicinal ways, again, alternative and holistic ways to take charge of their mental health. So that's how that came about. I guess I inspired myself to answer your question. My own story inspired myself because I knew that I wasn't the only person in the world that did not benefit from prescription medication and didn't benefit from talking to a psychiatrist. I knew that I couldn't have been the only person who displayed signs of a mental illness, but really there was something else, and unfortunately in Western culture, we treat a lot the symptoms without treating the actual problem, right? So a lot of times, for instance, if you have an allergy, we tell you not to eat the food, or we give you some Benadryl. We don't do the work to find out, is there a detox that needs to happen? Or what exactly is going on that you are allergic to this? Or what's making you sad? Not just treating the sadness, but what actually is making you sad. So all those things together inspired me to open up a business, a service-based business where I help people find out exactly what needs to be healed, transform them thought patterns, and it led me to actually write a book. Actually, this year, the book is published this month. So January 31st is actually this Friday, I believe, and that's when my book drops. So yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a long time coming. I've dealt with clients one-on-one, coaching them to take charge of their mental health. I've given workshops and group coaching before, but I never wrote a book. So I challenged myself to do that. And I put in that book the 8 foundational steps that I used back in 2012 to begin my mental health journey. Again, without medication. And I'm not saying that that works for everyone. I just know that there's a sector of people like myself who's like, I don't want to take the medication, but teach me how to get over this. Teach me how to get over this childhood trauma. Teach me how to get over this domestic violence situation. Teach me how to get over, being in an environment where it was just violence and crime. No, teach me those things. A pill can't teach me that. Teach me how to transform my thoughts from harmful to healthy. And that's what I put in my book, available on Amazon. I'll tell you the title. Renew your mind. Take charge of your mental health. 8 alternative ways to improve your quality of life. And it's a really interactive book. There's, of course, information, but at the end of each chapter, there's an exercise that help you apply the information you just read. And my favorite part of the book is because these are the real life steps that I used 8 years ago to make me into the woman that I am today. So, yeah. So it was me. I inspired myself.
What would you say would be your largest achievement yet?
Probably this book, to be honest. I love teaching people. I love going out and delivering services. I'm also a speaker, so I travel and speak. But I think that my largest achievement is finally writing this book, getting it done. I always wanted to write a book before I even knew I really wanted to write a book and got serious. And then 3 years ago, I came up with an outline and still didn't do it until this year. So for me, I would say that's the largest achievement because now I have something that can actually leave the Cincinnati area, right? So meaning when I do speaking engagements or workshops or interviews such as this, I'm always at home in Cincinnati. But now I have a product that's on Amazon that people in the UK can purchase.
So I could spread the word.
Exactly. So I think that's a huge accomplishment. Now, visit me in 6 months, I bet you I have something else. But right now, I'll say me actually finally putting an actual book together.
I heard you do a radio station. When did you start that?
So I have been interviewed on radio stations, but I personally have a TV show that I'm a talk show host on. My talk show is called Healing Conversations with Coach Vee. It's because I'm all about healing, right? Healing Conversations with Coach Vee highlights local people, regular people like all of us that have experienced something in life, but they chose to do something about it and heal. So for instance, I've had guests on there that grew up in a household where their parents were on drugs and were abusive. And they had a choice to either follow in their parents' footsteps, right, by doing drugs themselves and being abusive to their children, or they had a choice to change paths altogether and either open up a nonprofit to help other children and adults, or they wrote books themselves. I even had a guest that became a playwright, and she actually has been doing it for over 10 years, and she actually travels and does her plays. But she became that because of some trauma she experienced in early adulthood. So all of my guests come on the show and just share a part of them so that the audience can get a point of reference and see, yes, you can experience horrible things in life, but then you can also choose to grow from it, heal, and give back and help other people. One of my most favorite episodes a couple years ago was I had a martial arts expert on my show. And he was placed in martial arts as a young child because he was bullied all the time and he was shy. So I don't remember if it was his mom or dad, maybe it was his dad, put him in a karate class to build up his confidence and to get him out of his shyness. So fast forward to being an adult, he decided to become a certified trainer in different levels of martial arts. And I ain't even gonna try to butcher the names, but I know karate and some of the names are very different. So I don't want to butcher it, just to say he's certified in a whole bunch of stuff. But that came from him knowing other kids are being bullied or have low self-esteem. So because that helped him come out of his shell, he opened up a gym, not a gym, I don't think they're called gyms, but wherever you go to practice karate and stuff. And he teaches young kids how to get confidence, defend themselves respectably, not be bullies, and to build their self-confidence and speak up. And at the end of the interview, we got up off the seats and he showed me a move. So during the interview. Now, mind you, we practiced before we started recording, so I ain't look like a complete fool on camera. But it was so much fun because he brought the little gloves for me to put on, and it looked all official. And so I had to do this move where it looked like he was grabbing me, like to attack me, and I had to break free and like do a little swing move. It was really, really cool. It was really, really cool. So on that talk show, there's no barriers, whether people found a particular religion that helped them, whether they opened up a nonprofit, whether they were incarcerated and got out and now they go back to the jail and help, whether they have opened up a service-based business, whether they wrote a book. My guests come from so many different walks of life, and that part of my show allows for everybody to get benefit from it, not just a particular age group, a particular sector, because we all got stories. And they come on the show and just share, hey, this is what I've been through, and this is what I did to heal. And we use that as an effort to inspire the people who are watching us at home or who catch us on YouTube or now who catch us on Facebook Live to feel like, okay, if they made it through this thing, then I can too. So that's why I started that show, because I just knew that, like myself, other people have stories to share, and other people are choosing to heal and, you know, continue to live. Sometimes people go through things and they stop living. They keep growing physically because they can't stop their birthdays from coming, right? Yeah. So they keep getting older, but mentally, emotionally, they're so traumatized, they stop living. So the guests on my show, when they share their stories, they're able to give people who are watching hope or different ideas to say, okay, let me get up. I've been down too long. Let me get up. Let me dust myself off. Let me do something different and take a day at a time to move forward and inspire other people.
How long are your shows usually?
So when I first started, it'd be 3 years ago, it was in 2017. When I first started, I did 30-minute interviews. But over the year, that has grown to 60-minute interviews, because a lot of times the producer and I found out that right when the story's getting good, or right when, you know, people are really starting to open up, because for some reason cameras make people shy. I don't know why. So once when people start opening up, it'd be like the last 5 minutes of the show and I got to wrap up. So now we do 60-minute interviews, and it's usually enough time, you know, to get people to tell their story, to give us context, and then to talk about the journey that they took to heal. And then I allow them to, whatever product or service that they created from their healing, they're allowed to share that, their website or a phone number, or if they have a party or an event coming up, they're allowed to share that on the show as well. Yep. I never had no 8th graders on the show though.
Really?
Yeah. We might need to do that for 2020. I'm just gonna throw that on y'all table. We might need to do that for 2020. Yeah.
Did anyone like say that you couldn't do it or something?
That I couldn't do
like
what?
The mental health coaching and your
didn't believe in
TV
you.
show.
So we all have haters, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
You're like, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes haters are right here in our face, and then sometimes they stand behind our back. You know, we don't know. So if I have had people, Mason, that told me I couldn't do it, they ain't say it to my face. So to answer your question, I'm pretty sure that there's some people who may feel, you know, like, who is she, or why does she think she can do this? Why is she the authority? But how I feel about that is, like I said, they don't say it to my face, and I can't stop what other people say. You know, I feel like this entire journey, this entire mission, I was destined to do it. You know, I feel like everything that I've been through in my life as a child, a teenager, as an adult, as a mom, I feel like it was for the purpose for me to give back and help other people. So those few people, because I'm gonna claim it, those few people who think that, who is she or why she thinks she can, I ain't trying to hear them. They can go buy my book and find out. Like, if you, for real, like, they can go buy my book and find out what made me into this person I am today, because I am at peace with my past. And what I mean by that is, I know I wasn't always the best woman, the best mom, the best worker, the best friend. I know that. But I also know that I've spent almost a decade resolving things, healing myself, healing my family. So those people who knew me back when, they can't hold a candle to me today. Because I didn't grow, I didn't mature, and I only compete against myself. So I'm not worried about what next man or the next woman is doing. I'm trying to make sure that whatever I did today, Wednesday, that I do better tomorrow, Thursday, and then Friday, and then Saturday. So anybody who thinks they got real or fake beef with me, anybody who think that, you know, why her, buy my book, period. Buy my book and you'll see. And I'm so much at peace with my transition that those people who may be sitting back feeling like, why her, why she doing this, who she thinks she is, when they decide to grow, I'm happy to help them for a fee. So we're always going to have people that project how they feel about themselves onto us. Because people who are confident and knowing that they can do whatever they put their mind to, they don't worry about telling nobody else that you can't do it. It's always the people who have personal limitations that try to project it onto somebody else. And I'm gonna tell them too, buy y'all book. Like, you know, that's gonna be my answer. I don't have time. It's too many people out here who are interested in growing, interested in healing, interested in taking charge of their mental health, and I may just be the person to help them. So I don't hear my haters.
What would you say is the most common mental issue?
The most common mental health issue, I would say, and so my answer is going to be based upon coaching services that I've delivered. I also conduct sporadically market research surveys just to the general public, because I always want to make sure that my program and service offerings are like relevant, you know. So again, my answer is based upon, even from my talk show, so my answer is going to be based upon all those things. I think that the most prevalent mental health issue is hopelessness.
Yeah.
Hopelessness translates to depression. So when people feel depressed, it's because they can't see a future for themselves. They feel hopeless. I think that other mental health challenges derive from that. But if I feel hopeless, if I feel like, you know, tomorrow isn't going to be great, next week isn't going to be great, my health isn't going to improve, physically I can't lose the weight, whatever things people are worried about, if I feel like I can't change it, then to me that's hopelessness. And from hopelessness, you get depression, you get anxiety, you get paranoid schizophrenia, you get bipolarism. But I think that all comes from people thinking that there's no hope. And that's a thought, right? I think there's no hope. And it could have been influenced by upbringing, neighborhood, a teacher, a counselor, an aunt, an uncle, something on TV. It could be influenced from someplace outside, and we adopted that idea on our own. So that's why I'm all about renewing people's mind and helping them transform their thoughts, because everything starts with a thought. So if I can convince you that you have hope, then that mental health diagnosis will eventually go away, because now you have hope. Now you're like, okay, let me get up and I'm sorry, I'm hungry. Let me get up and let me do something different. You know, let me get up and change this path. But if people aren't taught that they can do that, then they feel helpless. And when people are helpless, they do bad things. If I feel like I can't feed my family for the next 3 days because I just lost my job, I'm gonna go out and rob you. If I feel like I'm being bullied in school and no one's listening to me, no one believes me, no one's helping me, I'm gonna fight back, and I might fight back in a violent way. Hopelessness is the root to me of all mental health challenges. But again, hopelessness is a thought. No one taught that person how to change their reality. So that's why I'm all into, again, going back to the alternative and holistic standpoint, medicine generally is used to dull the senses. So if you have a headache and you take some aspirin, that doesn't mean what caused the headache went away. That just means your nerves got dulled enough that you don't feel the pain anymore. But whatever that underlying reason, that's still there. So when your headache gone, you still got to deal with whatever that problem was, right? But if I teach you how to avoid whatever foods that give you a headache, or reduce your stress, which may give you a headache, just different things like that, then you won't need the aspirin, right? So I use that same mentality when it comes to helping people taking charge of their mental health. If I can teach you baby steps, how to see a future for yourself, ain't no stopping you. I mean, look at all the famous athletes, look at celebrities, look at politicians, look at your favorite teacher. You know, those people keep going and thriving because they see a future for themselves, or they have a goal. People who don't have that, those are the ones who usually do things out of despair. And I'm not condoning, I want to be clear, I'm not condoning, you know, illegal activity or harmful behavior. I'm just saying I've been there, and because I've been there, I understand where that comes from. And for people who are ready and willing to do the work, I can help them. Because I know the service I offer doesn't help everybody, and I'm very clear on that. But the people who are ready to do the work and change themselves from the inside out, I'm here and ready to help them. Y'all got some spicy questions, some good questions. Good. Keep them coming.
What's the process of helping a mental health patient?
So the type of clients that I deal with, my process is a little different. I have two clients. I have clients that have tried the traditional mental health service, meaning they either taken medication in the past or they're currently on medication, or they currently see a therapist or they saw a therapist in the past. And then the other type of client I have is ones who haven't done any of those things. The clients who have taken medication in the past or present are looking for something to help them actually heal. And I'm repeating this based upon reviews and conversations I've had with those clients. They've tried the medicine, they've been on medicine for years, and they may have went to their therapist and said, okay, I've been taking medicine A for 3 years now, and now I'm having these other symptoms. And usually what happens is there's another medication added on top of that, or their dosage is adjusted. Disclaimer, I am not against traditional mental health care. So if a person needs medication, if a person needs a psychiatrist or a therapist and it's helping them, by all means go for it. I'm here for the person that is looking for something more holistic or something extra. Because like I said, I have clients that take medication still, and I have clients that never took medication. And I've had great responses from both of them, because the difference between what I do and what the medication doesn't do is actually deal with that underlying reason, but in a holistic way. And it takes time. And I'm laughing and joking and smiling with y'all, but when I'm dealing with my clients, like, they already know. Part of the whole entry assessment is you got to be ready to do the work, and we ain't here to be friends. So there's going to be times I'm going to upset you because I'm going to call you out. If we have an assignment, or if you're still adopting language that's harmful to you or others, I'm going to call you out about it. I'm going to make you face that and look in the mirror and deal with, like, okay, I got to stop blaming other people. It feels good to blame other people because it doesn't hold me accountable, but Coach Vee ain't going to let me keep getting away with that. So I got to figure out, is this the move I want to make or not? But I can tell you, every client that I've had to push a little bit at the end of the session, or if they just continue, without an end date, I get really, really great feedback from them. Because they don't feel like I was just trying to push a medication on them, which I don't do, because I'm not a psychiatrist or a doctor. This is strictly nitty gritty, get your hands dirty. We need to address some issues and heal them.
Have you ever had to coach another mental health coach?
I have. I've actually had clients that held public offices, and clients that are actually in a social work field, which means they go out and help, other people deal with life challenges. I always tell people that even me as a coach, I have coaches, and people who are therapists, they also have therapists, so you always want to have somebody to sharpen your skill set or to help you see a different perspective. So of course, when I deal with people in a similar field, we don't talk about confidentiality issues such as their clients. We talk about them, because they're internalizing those struggles. So if they're dealing with a single mom who is stressed out because she can't get a job, or she's leaving an abusive situation, or they're dealing with someone who just left prison, and they need help transitioning back into society, those social workers and those therapists, they take on those roles. I mean, if they're great at their work, if it's not just a check to them, they get invested in these people's stories, because a lot of times they deal with their clients for years. They follow their cases, they write letters to court, whatever it is they need to do, they're invested. So they need a release as well. So the techniques that I teach people about developing a successful alternative and holistic mental health routine can work across the board, because I teach people how to every day take time to heal themselves, take time to woosah. We are so fast in the Western society that it's like 15 minutes. I don't have 15 minutes to take a break. I got to do this. And it's like, no, your body will let you know. And those are the people who, I sat on the couch for a minute and I passed out. Yes, because your body was tired. Those are the people who run, and they get sick, and then they get sick for 2 weeks because your body was tired. So because you didn't sit yourself down, nature set you down, God set you down, you know, because you are not taking care of the most precious thing that you were given, and that's life. You're so busy running around taking care of everybody else, you've got to sit down and take care of you. I have a special program that I deliver to mothers, because mothers, whether they're married or single, it doesn't matter. Mothers are very, very, very bad about taking time out for themselves. Very bad about it. They're expected to do everything. And if, as mothers, we're not together, we can't be great mothers to our children. We can't be great wives to our husbands. We can't be great in our professions. So I spend time teaching moms how to take charge of their mental health. Not that everybody else don't need help. I do have programs for that, but I developed a special program for mothers because I'm a mom and I know what it was like before I healed myself to try to juggle everything, and to how it's easy and quick to lash out at your kid when the kid didn't even do anything, but you're stressed about work, you're stressed about bills, you're stressed about the absentee parent, you're stressed about so many things, and the kid come and asks for a juice box and you snapping at them because they want a juice box. And the kid like, well, what I do? You know, so that's stress. You know, so because I've been there and because I did the work along with my children to heal our family, I feel that because of that lived experience, I can go back and help moms do the same thing.
Did you have any training for mental health help?
So the type of work that I do, I've only had training as far as to get certified as a life coach. And then I took training with the state of Ohio because I'm also a certified peer recovery coach in addictions and mental health. But I did those things just to get those pieces of paper, just in case somebody asked. To be honest, a lot of the service that I provide to my clients, whether I'm speaking, whether I'm doing a group workshop, whether I'm coaching one-on-one, I use my lived experience. I do refer to the official training I've had, but then I also use my God-given training, my intuition and my discernment. You know, because a lot of times I could have a particular plan out to help a client, and then they say something during a conversation, and I get quiet and I listen. And sometimes right when I'm talking to a client, I'm praying while I'm listening to them because I want to say the right thing to them. I want to say something that speaks to their heart, not just their ears, but speaks to their heart, because I want them to know, like, okay, she ain't got MD, PhD, all these D's and letters behind her name, but she right, she gets me. That really sets me apart. And I hear this from my clients, so I'm repeating it. That really sets me apart from the services that a lot of people receive today. I had a client who put in a request for to see a therapist after experiencing a huge traumatic situation, and it was 5 months after the event that her appointment was available. 5 months after the event. So that's real life situations and scenarios that people are going through. You know, so when people meet me or get connected with me, they feel that I'm a breath of fresh air until I got to challenge them. And then after they get out their feelings, then they come back because it's like, we're actually making progress. I'm like, yeah. Now, if you continue your that's between you and your doctor. I never discourage anyone to stop their medication or, you know, because that's not my bag. I can add to what you're doing currently. But this type of work, sometimes things are just what I would call soul work. And that means that it's either a divine commission, a divine order, it's part of your passion. And so you move that way. You know, you build upon your lived experience. Because sometimes, Bowen, your receipt for your work is you yourself. Just like when people may be severely overweight and then they do the work and lose all the weight, that's their receipt. Their before and after picture, right? Mm-hmm. So people see like, wow, you were these many pounds and what did you do? What did you eat? What routine did you do? That's receipt enough. I kind of have that same, even though I have the certifications, but my life itself is my receipt. How I was before and how I am now, that's my receipt right there. And it makes me more relatable. You know, a lot of times nowadays, people don't want people to teach them from a book. They want to know, okay, I'm glad you went, you memorized them questions on that test and got that degree, But what do you really know about this? I'll close that book and tell me what you really know. What you really know about A, B, C, D, and E. And that makes me relatable when I go into neighborhoods that are listed as a neighborhood in poverty. So they may not get the same access to resources that an affluent neighborhood gets. So if I go into that neighborhood and I present a workshop to a group of women who may not speak so eloquently, or may not have even graduated high school, or may not have the things that we may consider normal, such as driving a car, but they want to do better, but people ignore them because of the neighborhood they live in. When I go into neighborhoods like that, it makes me relatable. My tattoos make me relatable. Like, there are just so many things that a book can't give me that makes me relatable to the people that I service. So I created a brand, and the brand is Mental Health is Sexy, right? Mm-hmm. And it has a little caricature version of me on it, so I have a brand. That brand is all about making mental health something that is attractive, or something that is alluring to everybody, or something that everybody wants. Now, I know we're in 8th grade, but as you get older, when things are to an adult, sexy is something they want. So it could be a car with tinted windows and rims. It could be a suit for a man. It could be a dress and some heels for a lady. It could be a hairstyle. It could be a house in an affluent neighborhood. It could be a CEO of a company. When people say something is sexy to them, that means they want to have it, right? So I put that brand together because I believe that mental health should be on that caliber. When people want a particular car and tint and rims, they will work overtime. They will use their income tax money. You know, they will ride the bus until they save their money up to get what they want. That's how dedicated they are to that. That's how much they want that thing. I feel like mental health should be exactly on that caliber. I feel like majority, if not all, of the world problems could be solved if everybody took care of their mental health. And I'm even putting that above physical health. People go to the gym to maintain their abs and their muscles and to be able to run 5 miles. Like, people go to the gym to do those things. And once they attain them, they don't stop going to the gym because they know they have to maintain it. Now, sometimes people get radical and feel like, if I got a day off, I'm gonna gain 20 pounds. Literally, you're not, but their mind is so trained and conditioned that I'm dedicated to this. I'm getting up at 4 in the morning, going to the gym before work. Then I'm going after work. Like, people are dedicated because they want to look sexy. They want to have a particular physique. If people view mental health that way, can you just imagine how many of the world problems would be eliminated? Because when we talk about mental health, we're generally talking about how people feel about themselves, feel about others, and how they feel about the world at large. So if I can teach people, one person at a time, one book at a time, one workshop at a time, one speaking engagement at a time, one radio interview at a time, one TV interview at a time. If I can teach people to change their thoughts about mental health and erase the stigma about, oh, I don't want to talk about it, you know, you crazy, all that stuff. If I can help one person at a time desire mental health on the level that they look for cars and jobs and success and money, the world will change. The world will improve, because then I wouldn't have an enemy. You know, I wouldn't think that I'm hopeless or that life is hopeless. I would have confidence in my personal abilities, my future, my children, my family. So I created that brand with 3 main pillars. One is to change the conversation about mental health. So Mental Health is Sexy was established to change the conversations about mental health. I want to influence the way mental health services are being delivered. Again, that goes to my personal experience. I was not the best candidate for a psychiatrist in Zoloft. That didn't work for me. So because it didn't work for me, I got thrown to the wayside, right? But there's other people like me. So that's why I want to influence the way mental health services are being delivered. There have to be other alternatives. And the 3rd pillar of my brand is to erase the stigma around mental illness. We will love on and accept somebody if they have a cancer diagnosis. If a kid comes to school with crutches and a cast, people want to write on his cast. He get the elevator key. You know, he gets his books held. But if I tell you I'm depressed, if I tell you I suffer from bipolarism, if I tell you I hear voices, We have been taught to run away and shy away from people like that. We've been taught to do that. Radio, movies, books, regular conversation. We've been taught to shy away from people like that. But it's an illness. Just like all the other things I mentioned, it's an illness. People have a mental illness. They're not the mental illness. You don't tell your friend who has cancer that you cancer. No, they have cancer, and you treat them accordingly. So my whole brand, Mental Health is Sexy, is all to hit those 3 pillars that I mentioned and to make it mental health something that people desire. So I have a signature talk that I give, different variations depending on where I am. But it's all about the idea of mental health being sexy. I get dressed up real nice. Purple is my thing. So I usually have on a purple dress or something purple. Because when I walk in a room, looking at me, people can't tell my story. But when I start speaking and tell them my story, they're like, you used to cut yourself and you was depressed and you went through this. But I done distracted you so much by how I showed up. Now you in disbelief, like you did this. And then I have receipts. You know, these scars on my arm, these were the scars I made at 16. And I've had offers to get them fixed. And I said, no, this is part of my story. So now when I go out and I speak to groups, sometimes people may notice my arm, but they don't know where they came from. But when I tell them, you can see everybody's faces shift. Like, you did that? It hurts when I bite my tongue. Like, how could you do that to yourself? But because I presented myself first in a nice dress and my purple, and just in case y'all couldn't tell, I have an amazing personality. No, because I presented myself that way, when I tell you my story, that gives you hope. Like, hold on. If she did all of this and this is who she is today, let me get that book. Let me get that book, what she did. You know, I inspire people because a lot of times it's like, sometimes if you have a mental illness, it's like a death sentence in Western culture. Are you schizophrenic? Are you depressive? Or you feel like this? Let me stay away from you. And it's not a death sentence. You can choose to heal and change and develop a routine to keep you upbeat, bubbly, and be genuine about it. Not to be faking the funk, like to be genuine about it. So that's what my brand is about. That's what I do. And so my biggest thing I would love to do, I want to travel. I want to travel in and out the country, share my message, tell my story, and inspire as many people as possible. Just like people do, again, when they lose weight. They travel and show before and after pictures, and they had their pants where they was real big and say, oh, I can fit in one size. And so many people were inspired by that. What did you do? What did you do? You did a P90X? You ran what did you do? I want to do that same thing with my story about mental health.
What are some of the locations that you visited before?
Most recently, I went to St. Petersburg, Florida, for it was an alternative conference, so where everybody came down and shared their expertise in a non-medicinal way. So whether they were healing or helping people to lose weight naturally, whether they were doing energy healing like Reiki massages and crystals, and then my, of course, area was mental health. So, and that was so much fun. So much fun. So that's where I've been recently.
What are some places that you would want to go in the future? So
I have a list of 44 cities that I want to visit this year. And I would love to visit 40 of them. Some of them are here, you know, local in the area like Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. But I've never been on the West Coast before. Some places down south. Never been to New York before. So there's about 40 different cities I wrote down that I would like to just share my message this year. And I'll see how close I can get to that.
Would you ever want to go across the Atlantic?
Absolutely. Passport ready. Like, yes, I want to travel to different places, but I also want to learn the language there because I don't want a translator. Like, I want to be so cold that I can deliver my message in English and Spanish and French and Russian and Chinese. Like, I want American Sign Language for the deaf community. Like, that's what I want to do.
Where do you record your talk shows?
So I currently record at Sabre Media, which is in Avondale. Of course in Cincinnati, but it's in Avondale, and I record every Saturday. Mostly every Saturday if I'm not booked to do a speaking engagement or something.
What was your most recent show about?
My most recent show, my guest was a domestic violence survivor, and her experience made local news last year. So when she came onto my show to share her experience and to share her healing process.
What news channels have you been on, or have you been on any?
So I was on Channel 12 on the show was called Cincinnati Issues, and that was last June or July maybe. But no, I'm trying to get on some TV. I'm trying to get on TV. But mental health is such it's a hit or miss topic. Like, it's a big thing during Mental Health Awareness Month, like in May. But then it's like all the other months, it's like crickets. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be something talked about all the time.
Thank you, Ms. Vee, for participating in this talk show we have. This has been Youth Voices of Greater Cincinnati. Until next time, signing off.